Throughout my life, I've witnessed various generations debating about the best time period to live in. Personally, I've always felt a nostalgic connection to the 80s and earlier decades. There were numerous daily activities and experiences from that era that seem to be fading away. In this video, we'll explore some of the things we commonly did in the 80s that are no longer part of our daily lives. Telephones have undergone a significant change over the past few decades. Nowadays, most people use cell phones, rendering landlines almost obsolete. If you still use a landline, it's likely not a rotary phone, but rather a push-button or cordless one. Do you remember the frustration of untangling the phone cord? No matter how careful you were, it always ended up tangled. And then there was the challenge of dialing numbers from memory unless you had an address book or phone book handy. The cell phones have now replaced these old-fashioned methods. Another thing that cell phones have replaced is the need for pay for long-distance calls. In the past, before the advent of cable TV, we relied on rabbit ears for television reception. While some modern versions of rabbit ears do exist, likely they don't have foil on them or require a big antenna on the roof. Do you remember connecting an RF modulator between your VCR and television? It was a common practice back then. We also used to slap the sides or top of our big boxy televisions to improve reception, although the reason why it worked remains a mystery still. In the early 1980s and before, smoking was pervasive and widely accepted. In various public spaces such as restaurants, grocery stores, and even airplanes, ashtrays were commonly found in armrests, and it wasn't uncommon for pilots to smoke in the cockpit. However, societal attitudes towards smoking have shifted significantly, with strict regulations now in place restricting smoking to designated outdoor areas. Milk has also evolved over time. In the past, half-gallon milk was typically sold in cartons, often featuring "have you seen me" photos and information about missing persons. And nowadays, plastic jugs are more common due to their durability and convenience. Gas stations have undergone changes as well. In the past, there were many full-service gas stations alongside self-service ones, but the prevalence of full-service stations has diminished over the years. Additionally, the use of leaded gasoline, once widespread, has been phased out due to environmental and health concerns. Fuel prices have also fluctuated over time, but in the past, they were considerably lower, allowing drivers to fill up muscle cars for less than $10. Another significant change is the elimination of the 55-mile-per-hour national speed limit on highways and interstates, which was perceived as an inconvenience by many drivers due to longer travel times. Its removal provided greater flexibility in driving speeds, and these changes reflect broader shifts in societal norms, technological advancements, and regulatory measures. In the 1980s, Saturday mornings had a special place in the hearts of children across the country. It was a time eagerly anticipated as it marked the airing of beloved cartoons on television. Families would gather around the TV, relying on TV Guide listings their plans and their viewing schedules, and it ensured they didn't miss their favorite shows. Unlike today, where digital recordings and streaming services offer flexibility, the VCRs were not yet commonplace in every household. This means if you forgot to tune in, you'd miss out until reruns aired or the episode became available on VHS. In addition to Saturday morning cartoons, another cherished tradition in many households was receiving daily newspaper deliveries. Flipping through the Sunday paper was a leisurely activity enjoyed by many, filled with colorful sales, ads, entertaining comics, and valuable coupons. For some children, a paper boy or paper girl was a popular side job, providing them with a sense of responsibility and a bit of extra pocket money. The 1980s also saw a widespread fascination with space exploration, fueled in part by the Space Shuttle program. Many children dreamed of one day traveling into space aboard the iconic Space Shuttle. However, the tragic Challenger disaster in '86, which resulted in the loss of the entire crew, including civilian teacher Krista McAuliffe, shook the nation and altered perception about the safety of space travel. Despite this setback, the Space Shuttle program continued until its retirement in 2011, marking the end of an era in space exploration and leaving a lasting legacy in the hearts and minds of those who grew up dreaming of reaching the stars. In the 1970s and 1980s, the concept of chickenpox parties was not uncommon among parents. These gatherings were organized with the intention of intentionally exposing children to the chickenpox virus. The reason behind this practice was practical rather than celebratory. Parents believed that by getting the children infected with chickenpox at a young age, they could effectively get the illness out of the way before it became more problematic and inconvenient. Unlike modern-day parties with games and festivities, these gatherings were primarily focused on facilitating the transmission of the virus. Entertainment for children in the 80s was vastly different from what it is today, especially in the absence of modern technologies like cell phones and tablets. Instead, children accompanied their parents during shopping trips or visits to the dentist or doctor's office, where they had limited options for entertainment. Elevator music often played in the background, providing a mundane soundtrack to these outings. To pass the time, children would often flip through the highlights magazines, a staple in waiting rooms, where they might discover puzzles and activities that had already been completed by previous readers. These simple form of entertainment, devoid of digital screens and interactive gadgets, were emblematic of a simpler era in childhood leisure. Cleanliness and pleasant scents were priorities in the 80s. Vacuums with bags emitted warm, dusty odors, so people used products like Carpet Fresh to make carpets smell nice. Potpourri pots or warmers were common in household items, despite sometimes creating a sticky mess. Incense was also popular for masking unwanted odors like cigarette smoke. One of the curious items commonly found in bathrooms in the 80s were decorative soaps shaped like flowers, shells, or balls, displayed in bowls solely for decoration purposes. These soaps were not meant to be used, but rather admired for their color and scents. Living rooms in the 80s boasted distinctive features such as hefty wooden console televisions and indispensable metal TV trays for dining while watching favorite TV shows. Storage solutions for these trays varied from sliding them under couches to dedicated racks within the living room. The clapper, often ordered from television commercials, was a coveted gadget despite being the butt of many jokes. Brass items were prevalent in 80s living rooms, although they required frequent polishing to maintain their shine. Ceramic animals and figurines were also popular, sometimes purchased unpainted for DIY painting projects. These creations are proudly displayed as artwork in the living room. The 80s produced several luxuries that we took for granted without even realizing it. Hostess ding-dongs wrapped in foil seemed to have an unmatched taste. Showbiz Pizza offered enjoyable family outings, where kids cherished gold coins and tickets as prized possessions for redeeming prizes. Yet the decade had its share of scams. Erasable pens often failed to erase ink effectively, leaving holes in paper as the only solution. Many women fell victim to the promises of the Epilady, enduring painful hair removal experiences. Cartoon commercials enticing kids to call 1-800 numbers to speak with their favorite characters were a common tactic. Despite warnings to obtain parental permission, few children did so, leading to unexpected charges from their unsuspecting parents. And despite these drawbacks, the 1980s were a memorable and vibrant era. Its unique style has largely faded, although occasional revivals like the resurgence of mullets provided nostalgic glimpses. Share your favorite aspect of the 80s in the comments below. Thank you for watching.